This is Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by A#1 Air, the official HVAC and electric partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Buffalo Wild Wings. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now, your hosts, Nate Newton and Kevin Gray.
Welcome to Week 4 of the National Football League. It is Cowboys Crosstalk presented by SWBC live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Kevin Gray of 105 through the Fan, joined as always by my partner, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, member of the Black College Football Hall of Fame, Nate Newton, joining me as always. Nate, what's going on?
Oh, man, just loving it, man. Loving the guests we have, loving it. Just loving it all, loving on you, Big Gray.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate all the love coming from your way, courtesy of Florida A&M on this Wednesday night. Joining us this week from 105 through the Fan, he's already got his Kentucky bourbon going already at the Cowboys Club.
Per the huge, baby.
My man, Will Chambers, joining us this week. Will, what's going on?
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, too bad after, this couldn't have happened after week 2. Oh, wait, my bad.
That's all right. That's
my
all right.
bad.
That's all right. That's
my
all right.
bad, guys.
Don't worry, man. You all good. Joining us this week, though, our Cowboys legend. He was the former number 2 overall pick in the 1986 NFL Draft, member of the All-Rookie team back in 1986, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, former All-Pro, spent 5 years with the Dallas Cowboys. He is a proud Oklahoma Sooner. He is Tony Casillas.
Tony,
what's going on?
yes, Casillas, yes.
Good to see you, sir. How you doing?
Hey, you sound like you can pronounce my name, man.
That's after you done blasted me every year.
How long did it take? How many years?
Up until last year.
Up until last year? That's all right.
2022?
That's all right.
So I've been knowing it for, what, 20 years?
It's on time right now.
Hey,
Tony, we appreciate
never
you.
too late, right?
Yeah.
We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Wednesday
absolutely.
night as we get you ready for the Cowboys and the Patriots. Before we dive into that matchup, obviously a disappointing loss this past Sunday, a 28-16 loss at the hands of the Arizona Cardinals. Nate, I'm going to start with you because obviously the defense, unfortunately, was on display in the wrong direction, giving up over 200 yards on the ground to Josh Dobbs, James Conner, and others. What was your biggest takeaway from what happened on Sunday for the Cowboys' first loss of the season?
I thought we had it corrected. I talked all about Jonathan Hankins having another year in this league. The way the way Osa played during the training camp and during the preseason games. I thought Gallimore would step up just a little bit more, and I was knowing that, talking to Coach Dan Quinn, that Mozzie got all of the reps, all of the significant reps during training camp and preseason. And for this to happen again, it just puts you in a bad mode. I don't want to hear – they can say what they want. They are players. They do what they want. They are the featured show. But don't say we're going to learn from this.
Sure.
No, it's time to do. It's time to do. So that's what I got from just disappointment in the run game.
Well, before I come to you, Tony, talk to me about that when you watch a defense that unfortunately not a lot of gap integrity, wasn't able to get their run fits where they needed to be. What did you see from what happened on Sunday that stood out to you most about that run defense?
Well, it's kind of like what Nate alluded to is that you had these expectations. They play these two New York teams and 70-10 and the ratio of points and points allowed. And so I think there was a lot of excitement. But, you look at Arizona, and I didn't know this until they actually played him. Arizona's beaten 6 out of the last 7 times.
That's
so
right.
I was like, okay. But, no, I think that just the physicality and the energy, because I think defensively you have to have those two components. And right away it's like, what, they're sleepwalking, and I know you have to have that, something to rebound the second half, and you just never saw that from the opening drive until the end of the drive. I think I was just blown away by the lack of that, the energy and just the physicality, because the Cardinals, they saw something that they were going to exploit.
Sure. Every
week, teams, they game plan, we're going to do this and that, take advantage of the activity and how aggressive they are, and it was a great game plan. But just the fact that they're able to just line up and run in between the tackles and just, as you alluded to, almost 250 yards and 222 yards rushing.
That's right.
Majority of that was in the first half. I think a lot of people were surprised.
How surprised were you, Will, to see what happened on Sunday between the Cowboys and the Cardinals?
While I was watching it, I was
Yeah.
very surprised. And then as it ended, I'm like, same old Cowboys. You know?
Oh, come on, Will.
Will trying to drop the hot takes already.
Come on, Will.
You
gotta
can't
explain
just
that.
say
Will,
that.
Will,
You gotta
Will,
explain
Will,
that.
you sound like someone that's on the Disney, every
On the trip
Uh-oh.
or on the roller coaster.
I mean, that's all I need to say, right?
Right.
Look, here, I think anybody that watched it, because I know you guys have worked with me for a long time,
That's
that
right.
I lean on analysts. And as I'm watching the game, I'm thinking about a number of different things. I'm thinking about the red zone, right, because that had been an issue the first couple games, or really more so in Game 2. Okay, well, how is that going to change? And none of it really mattered because Arizona is not as bad as everybody thought or they were going to be.
Right.
But, yeah, that makes the game somewhat close. How many times did you blow assignments and have huge plays and guys wide open over the middle of the field on a team that you should really beat? You know, to me, honestly, it just seemed like, man, I'm watching a Cowboys playoff game. You know, and yeah, the last two, it's like the Cowboys defense has played well and then the offense, but, you know, they're still in the game, and then Dak throws a ball like Justin Fields and Zach Wilson have been throwing. I'm just like,
Man, that's
This
a
is-
low blow. At least you didn't say Zach Wilson.
I mean, Zach Wilson, isn't that what I said? Did I miss
yeah,
that? Mess up his name?
you
No,
did.
you said
know exactly
Justin
what
Fields. You know Zach.
Oh, yeah,
Wilson.
no.
Yeah,
Well, I
exactly.
meant
He knows
both.
exactly what he did. That's
Look,
right.
the fact of the matter is this, that coming into this season, I think that we all realize that the Cowboys once again have an unbelievable roster and probably a better one than they had last year when you add in Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, they've had really good regular seasons. And
Sure.
there's been times during the, you know, if you were dating, you'd call them red flags, right? Green Bay, Jacksonville last
Yeah.
year. But you're like, okay, when it comes to playing in the playoffs, we're going to show up, you know, because this team is talented enough. And, you know, it's week 3. And they're not showing up, Tony, as you said.
Well,
it wasn't there. And I'm like, this is the same old Cowboys crap.
I understand that, and I think maybe you need to tap the brakes a little bit on that because I really think that I understand because there's games where you go through and you can speak on this just like me that you just there's that day it's not there and it's
Sure.
hard to explain. And then when you take a team like Arizona and you look at the record and the teams that they played, I mean they're not that bad, but I think when you have someone like Joshua Dobbs out there out playing your franchise quarterback, I mean, that's kind of hard to
But, Tony,
take.
let me ask you this, because you're absolutely right. And normally I'm the one that totally agrees with that it's you're going to have low points, you're going to have a bad game in the season. How many times have the Cowboys shown up in the last few years in the playoffs and laid an absolute egg?
I agree with that. But
More than what other team has done that? No other team
I
has done
understand that. But to your point, I understand that. I think a lot of people are very frustrated because
Sure.
they've seen that. And it's like, oh, my gosh, here we go again. I mean, that's like the first reaction. You see like a team like Arizona, Nate, that you're supposed to go out there and just because of, you know, the record and the players they have. But here's the last thing I will say about this because people understand when people, regardless of the record,
Sure.
they're going to show up and show out when they play the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care. They may not this week Arizona. They may go out there and just get beat 40-0 or something. You just dominate. But it just seems like when you're not ready, because these other teams, a lot of people, a lot of people that are fans of other teams don't want to hear that. They get ready to play for you because I mean this
Sure.
is their showcase. I mean the Cowboys are. If you want
Nationally
to
televised game,
yeah,
everybody's watching, all eyes are on the
absolutely.
game. For
So
sure.
And they
that-
played 3 tough games. I mean,
Yeah.
they end up losing, but they played, we could talk about their opponents, but
Right.
they played tough.
So let me ask you this, though, based off of what we saw, we know how the defense struggled. But, Nate, I want to bring this to you because the two numbers that I'm going to bring to you right now, 13 for 107. 13 penalties for 107 yards. Completely inexcusable for a team that you look at as a team with championship aspirations. The undisciplined nature, whether it was on the offense, defense, and special teams that wiped out a huge return for Kevontae Turpin. What did that signal to you based off of what you were watching about some of the undisciplined nature of that game from this past Sunday?
What it says is this team still has to mature and understand once you, I want to say this. We played in enough big games to understand. And I question now, is the 49ers enough? Because I remember one year Detroit blistered us. Remember?
Oh,
they blistered.
Yeah.
We went to the second round of play, and they blistered us. And we were in the locker room, man. Remember, we was like, we arrived. We arrived. Jimmy came in there, and for like 3 minutes, when he got finished with us, like, y'all think that? You know, because they beat us, but we made it to the second round.
Sure.
And Jimmy cussed us up and down. He shot us down. He said, I want you to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because he felt we should have won that game.
Yeah.
And the coaches were partying with us too. And he went off. And from that point on, he said, I want you to feel this loss. Not no joyous celebration.
Mm-hmm.
What I want the Cowboys to feel is sooner or later you got to feel the loss.
Sure.
You got to feel what just happened to you. If you feel you are a playoff team, which Jimmy felt before we did, that we were a playoff team that was worthy of more. And the next year we came out, and we had a bad game or two, but you wasn't going to just run through us. It was going to be competitive.
Sure.
And that's what bothered, I think, me, Tony, is the 220 yards, the 13 penalties. Okay, it's one thing to lose a game, and you look at these Patriots. It's one thing to lose a game, but it's just to get drugged in a certain area that's been a sore spot. And I think that's what you're overplaying right now. Is that sore spot raised its head, and it's like we've been down this road before.
No, yeah, and look, you guys, it's easy for me to sit here and having watched teams all my life and having covered them for the latter several years, but I'm not in the locker room wearing the pads as a part of the team. What makes that change? The change that you're talking about, that Jimmy came in, because I don't know, and I mean this from a total ignorant standpoint, not that I don't believe it. I don't know who is it or what is it that's going to change this team, because it sure as heck doesn't seem to be the loss to the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs the last 2 years.
I remember talking to Ray Lewis that year. They went to with the guy, I can't think of his name, went to the Super Bowl. And I remember talking to him during the offseason. I say, Ray, what you going to do, baby?
Yeah.
He say, these dudes going to play the defense. Now, they wasn't too keen on the defense and how it was being ran by that coach at the time.
Marvin Lewis?
He said, but we going to run the defense. And I'm going to have everybody line up where they're supposed to line up. And they went to the Super Bowl. And at the end of the year, he looked at me and said, see, every man was where he was supposed to be. Somebody in that defensive locker room got to say, fellas, no more freelance.
Yeah. Everybody knows their job. Everybody knows
do
their
your
assignment.
job.
Do your job and play.
You finna play this week, Mr. Do your job.
Yeah.
And you know how it was for y'all, Tony.
And I think that's what
y'all
you saw.
know how it was.
That's what you saw last Sunday. There was a lot of freelancing going on out there. Guys in their own gap and going upfield and just out of position.
Out of whack, man.
Yeah.
Undisciplined.
Some over pursuit for
and
sure.
Maybe they'll learn their lesson. I mean, sometimes you just got to you can't call any like run blitzes. Sometimes you just got to line up a mano, line up in the gap, play that gap, and let's go.
Yeah.
You know, play yourself out of that.
Yes.
And I never saw them. You know, that's the thing about it. You just kind of play yourself out of it. It's not something, okay, well, coach can say. I mean, yeah, the coach can say what he can, whatever that voice is, but you got to be able to play yourself out of that. And as we alluded earlier, the next series is different than the last series.
That's right.
And you never saw that.
Let's take our first break here on Cowboys Crosstalk, presented by SWBC. At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Kevin Gray of 105 Through the Fan, Nate Newton joining me as always. Will Chambers of 105 Through the Fan, our Cowboys legend. Tony Casillas joining us live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Coming up next on Cowboys Crosstalk, the red zone has been an issue for this team. How does Mike McCarthy start to solve that this week against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots? We talk about that next on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Go Cowboys!
to Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Back on Cowboys Crosstalk, presented by SWBC. SWBC Mortgage joined the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped find their way to a happier home. Visit SWBCmortgage.com to find a pro today. Kevin Gray of 105 through the Fan, joined as always by my partner Nate Newton, Will Chambers of 105 through the Fan, and our Cowboys legend Tony Casillas joining us live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Appreciate him hanging out with us.
We hired some people over here to cheer when you said my name.
I see you got your
so
section
much.
over there. They ready to cheer you on.
Man.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
My
man.
beautiful
Wow.
wife, my
Very
son,
nice.
Clint.
Nate's got him
Hey.
on retainer.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Tony Casillas for hanging out with us. We'll get to your Boomer Sooners a little bit later on in the show. Get some thoughts and opinions
Why?
on.
No.
I feel you. I feel what's going on right there.
No, we're good.
You're going to talk a little
good.
Brent
That's
Venables a little bit
all right.
later on in the show. Let's talk about this red zone offense, though, because unfortunately, gentlemen, the numbers are rather ugly the last couple of games. Let's go through them, just a couple of them real quick. 3 of 11 in the red zone the last 2 games. They've got 15 red zone drives, which are the most in the NFL, but unfortunately, they're tied for 27th in the league when it comes to touchdown percentage inside the red zone. Nate, you know a little something about offense, especially in the red zone. What's the problem right now for Mike McCarthy and his offense? Not necessarily in between the 20s, but when they get inside the 20, trying to put points on the board.
From 10 and in, 5 and in. What I'm finna say is simple, and people shoot it down, and I laugh. But when you cannot run consistently for touchdowns, everything gets smaller. DBs relax a little bit. Linebackers fall back a little bit. Okay, they can't run it in. So now all the passing lanes in that 10-yard span or that 12 yards that you're running across in that back of that end zone is closed down. If we can just consistently, like we did the first game, we consistently just punish the run. Now you're bringing all the linebackers up. Now they give you the dink and the dunks that you need, or the quick slants, or the deep fades, or the running across the back of it. And I tell people, people like, no, we need to pass. We need Dalton Schultz. We need Amari Cooper. No, you don't. The one constant you had was the willingness to give Zeke opportunities to run it in there. And I'm thinking Rico Dowdle. I'm not saying he's no young Zeke, or nothing, but give
like that
Rico
kid.
Dowdle that opportunity to run that ball in there.
They average 1 more yard on first down in the red zone with Zeke Elliott last year as they do now. I looked at that today because I thought the same thing. I mean, we could talk about Zeke and what we think of him as a running back and whether he was a step slow or past, whatever. When it came down to you did not, if you hit Zeke was going to get the dirty half yard, the dirty yard and a half. He was never going to go down going backwards. And this team really misses him in the red zone. And I think on first down they've really suffered, and I think that's probably the biggest part because it's not just the red zone, as you said it, inside the 10, inside the 5, when everything is really tight. That's where you really, really miss Zeke.
And so we got Tony. I'm gonna let you go. Now we got, and that's where I want to. He's got to learn. Rico Dowdle, he's got power, but do you have that niftiness to feel and a healthy offensive line? It would help, but I think give these guys a chance to go forward within the 5 or 10. Tony, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was surprised they scratched all 3 of the starting linemen last week. I'm not privy to what goes on with Zach Martin and Biadasz and then
Biadasz,
By the way, all 3 of them did not practice again today. Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
All 3 of them did not practice today
with
as
the
well.
rehab group.
But here's the thing. I think with an offensive lineman, you ask Nate, would you rather run block or pass
run
block?
it, man, run it.
Especially when you're down in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, everything shrinks down. The field is smaller, and as a defense, they can't run the ball. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, that's what you live for. So, and then with Zeke, as you alluded to, yards after contact was just amazing because he just leans and just keeps his body going. And 1 or 2, 3, 4 yards. I mean, that's
when you're inside the 5, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's yards. It's valuable yards. And so, I don't know. I think we can say last week, but this has been a problem with this offense. They play the Jets. We know the Jets are good in the red zone, but still, you got to be able to throw. I mean, those are wasted yards in between the 20s. Think about it. As a defense, it's like, okay, we're going to, that's going to happen. You're going to run your big plays. But once you get here, there's going to be some kryptonite there where you're not going to be able to get in.
Okay, right. So that I was just going to ask that.
So it really doesn't matter. People think, okay, we're getting up these yards, but as long as they don't score 6 points, a touchdown, we're good with that.
That's a win.
Absolutely.
And then how does the offense feel as well? Because at the end of the game, look, that throw from Dak, it felt like,
that was like triple coverage.
Yeah, and you go, okay, this is a team that's feeling the pressure of not being able to score or not really feeling like they could go.
We got to make a play.
That's problematic.
Yeah.
I laugh because if you can run the ball in, number 7 sitting close to that line.
Yeah.
He's not running out there with Dak. He's sitting close to that line, and he'll be trailing Dak instead of even with Dak.
Sure.
That's just that split second. Our game, Tony, is about inches. And you just got to believe. You got to give these. And if these guys are not practicing, when the game comes, let's let these backup guys play because they'll have some continuity. You'll know what you can run and what you can't run. If these guys are in and out, if Zach's not playing, don't give him another week off.
Sure.
Let's go with
play the long game a little bit.
Yeah. So because one thing you cannot do these next 3 games is you look at Belichick and you look at what he does. He go out and get players that runs his 3-4 defense.
Yep.
He got 2 hog mollies in the middle. They probably about me and your height, Kevin, and they me and your size, and they sitting down in there.
Yeah.
They sitting down in them. You got to deal with their linebackers. Their linebackers are going to make the plays, and their defensive linemen don't care. So if we're gonna go against these guys, at least to have the 5 guys. If I hear game time decision with Zach or these guys, don't do that.
See, I don't understand that because to your point is that you've got to build some continuity that week. Even if
and Mike McCarthy talked about some of that.
Yeah, you have to. These guys got to work together. You can't just put them out there. Okay, and it's a game time decision. They're not getting the reps during the week, and there's not going to be any execution. There's any familiarity with the dynamic inside. New center, new guards, and that's that's a position that's real profound when it comes to them trying to run the football. I mean, that's in pass protection and everything, communication. To me, I didn't understand that.
And it felt like, too, it was something that was a big worry coming into the season. What the biggest one, at least from my standpoint, was the depth at the offensive line. And through the first couple weeks, you're like, well, that's maybe not as big a concern as, maybe I thought going in, especially the way Udoka played. But yeah, when you do have your down 3 and there's penalties as well that we didn't really discuss that comes into play as well. But, yeah, you want to be able to know what's going on your left and your right or have that feeling. And that's what Zach Martin talks about all the time with Terrence Steele. Not having that and not really knowing till the end of the week just seems like, man, that makes a hill just a little steeper.
Because if you're going to say let's play Tyler Smith at the left tackle, let's line him up this week and practice at left tackle and give him a few reps. People, what he did last year was amazing, but you don't want to make this because you're dealing with different players every week.
Sure.
So you don't want to go back and forth. So give him this opportunity to go on out there and then put Udoka back at that left guard where he played a little bit better. And let's see, can we smash? Because one thing I do like Mike McCarthy's doing is he's not giving up on the run. He is not giving up on the run.
They stuck with it last week,
But what we have to do is make sure we're doing what we have to do. We control time of possession. Our defense went haywire. I mean, normally you have one guy that's, let's say Parson want to play in freelance. Okay, all right, I understand. But you got Sam Williams want to freelance. You got the nose tackle want to freelance.
You got to earn that freelance.
Exactly.
And if you're freelancing, you better make a play.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise you're going to leave your teammate hanging out to dry trying to make a play.
You better not be a liability.
Exactly.
Right.
I could just imagine if they had a big enough plane our whole linebacking core probably would just be deep in ice up to their necks. As soon as they got on the plane, they probably – because our D-line did not protect them.
No, for sure.
At all. You just had D-Law running around trying to do his thing right.
Yeah.
You had DeMarcus, and I think the coach spoke on that.
Dan
Hey,
Quinn talked
DeMarcus
about that.
Lawrence, thank you for standing a professional this week.
Yeah, you know, that's great whenever you're doing these run blitzes and just you know, what they're active in the upfield. But I'll tell you what, when they start running counters and people pulling and you're going upfield and they're kicking out, all of a sudden you got these huge
There
holes.
were times the Cardinals had wide receivers pulling and making blocks out on the outside.
I know. That's when you just got to hone in and just like read,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just sit there and read, big boy. You just, hey, you
Right.
got to earn going upfield, okay?
Right.
And
There was a
make
great
play.
example of that at the very beginning of the game. First play of the game, Josh Dobbs decides to keep the ball, and next thing you know, you see Barker Parsons blowing by him, and Dobbs is going around him, runs for 44 yards on the very first play.
Exactly.
So you could tell there might have been a little bit of concern with some run fits and things happening at the beginning of the game. Clearly, it was an indication of what we saw, them running for 222 yards in that game, and unfortunately them losing to the Arizona Cardinals. It is Cowboys Crosstalk presented by SWBC. Kevin Gray of 105 through the fan. Nate Newton, of course, Will Chambers, Tony Casillas, our Cowboys legend, joining us here live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Coming up next, let's get into this matchup between the Patriots and the Cowboys, a reunion of sorts with Ezekiel Elliott coming back after spending 7 seasons with the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the last time the Cowboys saw the Patriots, they were winning a game in Foxborough in overtime. How do they do it again this time at AT&T Stadium? We do it next on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Go Cowboys!
Visit SWBCPEO.com to find out more. Kevin Gray of 105 through the Fan, 3-time Super Bowl champion Nate Newton, Will Chambers of 105 through the Fan, our Cowboys legend, proud Boomer Sooner Tony Casillas joining us live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Appreciate you joining us across the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network as the New England Patriots come to town, and they bring with them a familiar individual to Cowboys Nation as Ezekiel Elliott makes his return after spending 7 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, third all-time leading rusher in Cowboys history. He had a chance to speak to the media today about coming back to this place where he spent obviously the majority of his career. Nate, I'll start with you. When you're facing someone who has formerly played for this team, what kind of emotions do you think are running through some of these guys' minds, even after what happened against Arizona, knowing that a guy like Ezekiel Elliott wants to get a win coming and play with the New England Patriots?
That rarely happened in my era, where you lost a great player. So I never
so
got
early.
So I never got a chance to do that. Tony had. You left Atlanta. You was a celebrity there, so I mean, I never faced that. I never faced that.
What was it like going back to the ATL?
I was anonymous there, man. That's what I was.
It's hard to be anonymous as the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft.
When you're 4-12, 4-12, and 4-12, you're very, very anonymous. I'm just saying.
That happens.
Let's get ready
You
for the
get lost
baseball
in the
season.
mix, right?
Exactly.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
If you went to another team, we gonna make you sorry you left. That was our mentality.
I like that.
You left here, for whatever reason. I ain't about your contract. I ain't trying to tell you what to do.
Sure.
But you left here, and we finna make you pay for that. That's how I always felt.
Well, let's stick with that Patriot offense then. Mac Jones and this offense trying to get after this Cowboys defense. What are you watching and seeing on tape from Mac Jones in this offense that could present some problems for a Cowboys defense that saw Ezekiel Elliott last week run for 80 yards in the win that they had?
They just trying to spread the ball out. I'm going to tell you something. It's hard following the man.
Yeah.
And he's trying to spread the ball out. He's trying to get it to his receiver, trying to tight end Hunter. Got the other kid, big receiver. He's just trying to spread the ball out. He got 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he's a good kid. He's a solid kid. They picked him 15th, in the first round.
Are you surprised how much the Patriots have thrown the football so far this year?
Nah. They trying to they trying to keep up.
Okay.
You need big plays, and what I always understood Tony and them tried to do is every drive, do not give up that 20-yard play. And so everybody's trying to get that 20-yard play to get you across the 50, to get you into the enemy territory. So I think they have to keep up. And the AFC East is that one quarterback left, but everybody over there can kind of move the ball.
They're kind of a team that I remember, they've had multiple offensive coordinators, but I can remember with Tom Brady that they never really had a star at running back, because really their running game was a lot of the short passing game in order to maybe, as you were saying, like if you break a tackle, then you can get a 20-yard gain. You do run it maybe on off downs or what it was considered at that point instead of, just being on first and second down. So they kind of would keep you on your heels a little bit. That's what I always thought was the brilliance of the Patriots on offense, and I think maybe they're trying to instill that a little bit into Mac Jones.
The thing that hurts Mac Jones and Juju Smith-Schuster is I've seen the playbook.
He's not very good.
No. I've seen the playbook.
I meant Juju.
No. I'm talking about Juju Smith. Yeah.
I know. I'm kidding with you.
I've seen the playbook of the Patriots, and I've seen for every defense you give them in a route, it changes. And Isaiah showed me this. And so I caution players, draft picks. If you go in there, ask Coach Belichick, can I see your playbook? Because it's the same on offense.
Sure.
It's the same. You cannot be a dummy, Tony, and play there, man.
I know, and so you're talking about them running the football. I mean, last week they ran 40 times. They rushed the ball 40 times. So you know what they're going to do this week?
Right.
They're going to try to run the football.
Right.
Matt Jones, he had 201 yards passing last week, and You mentioned Zeke, 15 touches for 80 yards. So they're getting some yards. And, they play the Jets, and they don't give up a sack. And so there's some very serviceable players that they have. And I was just thinking about this. You talk about, going back and playing against someone and, Zeke coming here. It's going to be weird. We're number 15 and all that. But I'm thinking about Matt Jones having to be the heir apparent to the greatest of all time. Could you imagine the expectations that guy has?
Yeah.
But I like the kid because he won't make a lot of mistakes. And I think that he'll give him a chance to win. And you mentioned Juju Schuster. I mean, he's got some serviceable weapons. It just depends on what what Bill Belichick wants to do. I mean, Bill's got this philosophy, what he wants to do. And it's either he's going to pick something, in the instance, the Cowboys' poison. The poison was not being able to stop the run last week. So they're going to go back to that. And whether it's different sets, whether it's different formations, because the one thing about when you look at a team, you can run like 3 or 4 plays 5 or 6 different ways.
Sure.
And that's a uniqueness of it. It may not be off, different sets, whether it's, trips or whatever alignments, whatever variations you have. That's what Bill Belichick will try to do to you. He'll challenge you to okay, we're going to run the same play, but we're not. It's going to be a different look.
I think
and the end result is going to be either try to run the ball or make a big play through the passing game.
What has Bill always famously done to another team?
Take away
your best player.
Take away your best player.
Yep.
Bill wants to dictate. If you can dictate to Bill, you're going to put them in a world of hurt because Bill is stubborn. Bill makes as great of a coach he is.
He's kind of loosened up a little bit. I love. I'm not even going to mention her name because it's been all.
It's okay. It's okay if you're a Swiftie, Tony. It's all right, man.
No, I'm not. I listened to it, but I've been a Swiftie
it was
way
pretty
before.
Funny.
But about the comments he made about
Tony said
Travis,
he's an OG Swiftie. I heard
Yeah.
that. I saw what you did there.
I'm an old
It's a good
Swiftie.
catch.
Yeah.
It's a good catch.
But anyway, but I'm sorry.
No,
to your
it
point.
was just the fact that he is one that is like last year with Mac Jones. What are you doing with a defensive 2 offensive coordinators dueled? One was a special teams coach, the other was defense.
Yeah, there was no
right
sense of continuity there.
Bill
for sure.
can be very stubborn, and so if you can dictate to him, as Tony, as you were saying, they're going to want to run the ball. This actually reminded me when you said the going back. Reminds me of Corey Dillon going back to Cincinnati, or at least playing the Bengals. And my memory just off the top of my head, he was running angry, and I think he had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But and I kind of see that with Zeke. All right, well, if that's what I would force Mac Jones to beat us. I would say, okay, you want to run the ball, this is what you're going to do. We're going to, have Mac beat us, and then if you can get a lead, now we're going to force Bill to do things on defense that maybe he didn't want to do, maybe take more risks. That's where you get a coach like that is always dictating himself. If you can dictate to him, and let's be honest, they don't have the horses.
You sound like a genius. You sound like a mad
football genius.
Can I get
yes,
that
you
cut
do.
up
But
and
let me
sent to
tell
my
you, the
email?
only thing that has ever defeated Bill Belichick, and I don't think our quarterback want to willingly do this, is run the ball. Him, QB1, run the ball.
Sure.
If you want to put him in a quandary, but if you want to pass, Bill got something for that.
Sure.
If you want to run, Bill got plenty of linemen for that.
Yeah.
So if you want to get him,
Off
the
schedule.
X factor,
It's
yes.
everything off schedule.
A lot of
Dak
play
gonna have
action.
to take, yes, sir. Yeah. Dak gonna have to take off, bro.
The number, gentlemen, is 51.1. Dallas has been efficient on third down to start this season with a 51.1% third down conversion rate. That is third in the National Football League. So speaking to some of your point about the idea, extending some plays with Dak's legs, being able to keep drives alive, that way you can keep that Bill Belichick defense off balance if you're converting on third down. And then in part, you can keep your defense fresh. That way they're not having to deal with the punishment of dealing with Ezekiel Elliott running the football the way that he did last week. This third down offense, Nate, needs to be able to show up the way that they have so far done this season for the Cowboys.
I agree with you 100%. The thing is, you said it will take away Parsons. You look at Parsons one time, he was a rookie. He didn't do much. the deal is who do you take away on offense? I think we've given enough multiple looks on offense. Who do you take away? Is it CeeDee Lamb? Is Cooks?
It was excellent the last time he saw the Patriots a couple of years ago.
Is Cooks going to do what he do? Now, we talking about an offensive line that's got a lot of Band-Aids on it. Parcells open up the wounds, bro.
Belichick, yeah.
I mean, but they one in the same.
They might as well be the
same disciples.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Same
They
tree.
one in the same. Tony know what I'm talking about.
I feel you.
I hear you, man.
One thing Coach Belichick is going to do this week is he going to Big Lawrence guy. He going to his other big horse, and he go like, man, do not let these good guys move you. And the two linebackers are giving their name. Y'all know their name.
Matthew Judon.
And the other one.
Jawan Bentley.
These dudes going to line up everywhere, and they going to test you.
Yeah. Judon's a monster.
One thing they going to do, Tony, is they going to have lane integrity. They're going to be in their gap, and they're going to know where to beat. That's why it's hard to dominate his defenses. Even when they lose, it's hard to dominate. Like y'all were, Tony. Even when we lost, it was hard to dominate y'all because y'all lane integrity.
Let me ask you a question. If Mike admitted so himself that maybe he was a little bit too gun-shy on the drops because of having the three offensive linemen, that maybe they would have taken deeper drops, do you think that may have changed the game for the Cowboys offensively if he knew that they would play well enough for him to drop Dak back a little bit more?
Well, I think it's to Nate's point about let the quarterback use his legs and maybe get him out of the pocket. Where if that's an issue, that's going to be a liability. Let's do something to help those guys out. Now, I think that if you kind of slide protect or just depends on what kind of front the defense is giving you, it can be an issue, especially when you look at some of the defensive linemen that the Patriots have. And you just alluded to the linebackers.
Yes.
I mean, they're always going to be sound on the line of scrimmage, the way they play defense. They're not going to have, the Cowboys had, 10 penalties or
13 for 107.
13 penalties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not going to see a Bill Belichick team melt down like that.
Sure.
That would just be so unusual.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I asked the question, only because of what you guys were talking about with lane integrity and stuff like that.
Without a doubt.
With the weapons that you have, I'm kind of like, Nate, you're right, they're good, but there's something about you being better and being more comfortable with it. Because, Bill Belichick is going to do everything smarter on, defense as far as schemist of what he sees on a team. But does he have the horses to beat?
Well, his pay attention to detail is off the chart.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that he will wear you out with. But, I think when you look at what Dallas did last week against Arizona and how they ran the ball right down their throat. I mean, it was just – people were just like, what are we watching?
Look, we're not trying to remember that no more, Tom.
Well, no, we're moving on. We're moving on.
For sure.
But still, as a player, you remember that. People's like, okay, this 24/7.
Yeah.
No, you remember that.
Sure.
Because you don't want it to happen this week.
Again and again.
So whatever you're doing that week to prepare yourself, watching more film, to play better technique. And usually that's kind of rectifies the problem. It's like we're not gonna run these games inside, run blitzes or whatever, because all you guys are out there freelancing.
Yeah.
We're gonna line up and we're just gonna be we'll play base defense, okay? But we're gonna make sure there's no gaps, there's no gashes right in the middle of our heart. So, when I look at what Belichick will do to you, I mean, I think that's something he will try to exploit.
Sure. And
that's up to you to stop it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're big boys. They're going to take it. That happened last week. We're moving on. But that's what an offense or defensive unit will do. They will try to go exactly what the other team give up. I mean, it's not – you don't have to be a genius to figure that out.
I know, because everybody's like, oh, where Michael Gallup's done. Like,
Yeah.
where is he?
And
They're
that's
like,
another
hey,
thing.
we're going to bring him in. And I was like, yeah,
and you
no, he's
mentioned
fine.
Michael
Yeah,
Gallup.
let's hold that thought. You on a roll right now. I see you on a roll. We got to take our last break. We're going to take our last break. We're going to let you finish this thought when we come back on Cowboys Crosstalk, presented by SWBC, live across the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Go Cowboys!
Back to Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Final time here on Cowboys Crosstalk, presented by SWBC, live across the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Let's thank our final partner on this Wednesday night, Liberty Tax. Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. One final time, Kevin Gray of 105 through the fan, three-time Super Bowl champion Nate Newton, Will Chambers of 105 through the fan, and our Cowboys legend this week, Tony Casillas, joining us here live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. I'm going to let you complete your thought real quick because, Tony, you was on a roll. I was like, I got to pay the bills real quick. Finish up with what you were talking about based on what you're looking for.
I don't know if it was a roll, but I told you to cut my mic off. You don't want me to. No, obviously my man right here is an offensive guy, and he knows inside out, the big Nate. And so my point being is that I just think that you have to try to get the ball to your hot players.
Sure.
And I think that's easier said than done. I mean, sometimes you say harder than it's not. But I think you can create plays to get it to your playmaker. And I like Michael Gallup. I like what he had 72 yards receiving last week. But I just think he gives you another option for his ability to not only catch the ball but yards after catch. Mm-hmm. And he's able to give you a spark. And I think that that's what you're really looking for, especially in you're struggling in the red zone. You're looking for the guys to give you a spark. And it's, during the duration of the game, there's always these plays that you can try to work, and sometimes they don't, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
I think we can be the biggest problems in this, honestly. Because you know what? One of the great things that, like what Michael Jordan learned early, it's like, okay, let me get some of my guys involved early so they feel like they're involved, within the offense. But if you've got a guy, if you're working in an offense and CeeDee Lamb's having a hot game, you got a few plays that you're going to Ferguson, but you're really trying to run the ball. There's only so many footballs you got.
Oh, absolutely.
And, yeah, maybe what he's trying to do is get them involved early, and maybe Dak would be better to spread the ball around a little bit more, calling that like that. But I agree with you. It's not a necessity. But we in the media have to be like, well, we were hoping Michael Gallup was going to have this, big bounce back year, and he certainly isn't looking like it. And you're like, well, okay.
And it's still
he's running good routes. What can he do?
It is still early on in the season to still figure out what we're trying to see from this offense, especially with Mike McCarthy leading it, which gets us to our predictions for this Sunday's game. We got about 3 minutes before we get out of here. Nate, I know what you're going to say. Say the Cowboys going to win. How quickly do the Cowboys win against the New England Patriots on Sunday?
Play your position and do your job. Mm-hmm. And the Cowboys get out of here with a 1-point victory.
1-point victory. I'm going to give you a score, 2019. How about that? You good with that?
It's 1 point.
That's 1 point. That's 1 point. Tony, how did the Cowboys find a way to get it done against Bill Belichick and his defense?
Well, learn from last week. The mistakes. They got to play with energy. And really, this is a bounce-back game. I mean, the best thing you can do is just go out there and have a great game and not worry about that. And, again, this is early in the season.
Sure.
So I think that's something they need to just continue on with and really just give them an opportunity. I think offensively, as we talked about in the duration of the show, that they got to be able to punch it in. They can't leave points off the board. But I like the Cowboys to rebound. I think it's going to be a tough game. I really think it's going to be one of those games. Last week they scored 15 versus the Jets, and the Jets had a pretty good defense. But I like the Cowboys. Winning 21-17.
21-17.
Yeah.
I like it. Real quick, Will, we got a couple minutes left. Give me a real quick score and prediction here before we get out of here.
23-12. I see a lot of field goals. A lot of field goals in this one. Look, I mean, I think that if a team this talented on defense, as the Cowboys are, lays something else like they did last week, then take us back to the first segment of what I was saying. Rarely have we seen the Cowboys the last few years throw back-to-back duds. I do not expect that again. I do expect Bill Belichick to play, have his team ready to go on defense with what to do. The Cowboys have too many horses. They're too talented on offense. They will still score. They'll probably get a lot of field goals with a couple touchdowns. That's why I like the double-digit win.
I'm going to take the Cowboys 28-23 on Sunday against the New England Patriots. Hopefully the Cowboys do something that the Chiefs did last year in Week 3, which is they lost a bad game on the road to the Indianapolis Colts. The next week, they beat Las Vegas, won their next 2 games, bounced back. I know they got Patrick Mahomes, a little bit different. The idea being, though, finding a way to bounce back after a bad road loss and then turning that around, especially with all the emotion that's going to be in the building, and say it on Sunday with Ezekiel Elliott coming back. I like the Cowboys 28-23 to handle Bill Belichick and the defense. We'll see if they can bounce back after what was a disappointing loss in Arizona.
Zeke
last
110
week.
and a touchdown.
Now, wait a minute now. As long as the Cowboys win,
So
okay.
what's your prediction on how many yards?
110 and a touchdown.
Wow, I'll take that.
He's like, you were good with that.
I'll take that bet that he won't. No,
Okay.
I'm gonna take
Okay.
110.
Okay.
I don't
Y'all
get-
talk about that after the show. Okay,
Okay.
y'all
Yeah.
work that
I'll shut
out.
it. All right.
You're after the show. Appreciate my man Nate Newton as always joining me live on Cowboys Crosstalk presented by SWBC. Nate, good to see you as always.
Oh, man.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
good to
man.
see you. Appreciate you hanging out with
Thanks,
us this
Will.
week.
Thanks, Kev.
Will Chambers of 105 to the fan. And our Cowboys legend this week, Tony Casillas.
Casillas.
Boomer Sooner. Appreciate you hanging out with us here live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in
When he
Frisco.
gets to Oklahoma.
That's all right. That's all right. Y'all can talk about it after the show.
We will.
Y'all can
Hey,
do it after the
they're
show.
going to
They're
beat the
looking
hell
all right.
out of Texas.
Woo!
There
Those
you
are
go.
fighting words around here, man. Appreciate all of you who joined us
I
live
feel a double bet now.
on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Nate and I will be back with you next week live at the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Cowboys Patriots live at AT&T Stadium at 3:25 on Fox and, of course, across the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Y'all be good.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?